Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That's public access TV. My name is Dirk Keller. This guy right here, Bob Boyd. This guy right here, Earl the Pearl Murphy.
That's him.
And our very special guest, Pat White. Pat, thanks for being back.
to see you.
You are really a strong contributor to our show, and I know Earl doesn't like it when I gush over our members here, but
That's J. Patrick White.
J. Patrick
What's
White.
the J stand for,
John.
Patrick?
John. My parents' friends, very soon after I was born, decided I was much too Irish looking to be John. So they started calling me Pat. I had the chowder head and the curly hair, and
Okay, I wondered about that.
quickly
All right.
became Pat.
You know,
Now we know the story.
I've gone by my middle name since birth.
I didn't know that.
I'm P.
Really?
Dirk.
I didn't know that.
What's
Paul.
your first name?
Paul.
Paul.
Oh,
Oh, your dad's name
that's your
is Paul,
son's
right?
name.
And as my son's name. My dad was Paul Anthony,
Okay.
and to avoid confusion, they decided to call me by my middle name. And my son is Paul David, named after his two grandfathers. Little did I know how much confusion that would lead at university hospitals, University College of Dentistry, because
Oh, I suppose.
and the insurance companies, because everything comes Paul D. Keller.
Oh.
I never know. They don't know, and I don't know if
Yeah.
it's me or my son. But
So your son is a third.
no,
You
we
didn't
all
do
have a
that.
different middle name. My dad,
Oh,
myself,
okay.
and Paul.
Okay,
my
so
son.
the middle name, if it's not the same, then it's not designated as a
Correct.
second or third. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
You got to have the full
Okay.
name. So we're honored to have John Patrick White here. And we wanted to start off and talk a little bit about the passing of longtime Iowa football defensive coordinator Norm Parker this week. Norm died at the age of, 72?
Yes.
At University Hospitals. I don't know about you guys, but it came as quite a shock to me, even though we know he'd been struggling with diabetes.
Did he play his football at Michigan State?
No, Eastern Michigan.
Eastern Michigan.
Eastern
That's right.
Michigan, yeah.
Okay.
And he's in the Hall of Fame there.
Ypsilanti.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he coached there too.
yes.
One of his many
Was
coaches.
he a lineman?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I
that's a
wonder
very good question.
what position he did play.
Wouldn't
but-
surprise me.
Yeah, probably.
Well, he had a lot of stops in his coaching career. Do you have those listed there, Dirk?
I don't have them listed, but I can recall, besides Eastern Michigan and Michigan State, where they went to the Rose Bowl
Yes,
and
in
won
'88.
several Big Ten conference titles. He also was at Minnesota and Illinois.
He was a Big Ten guy. Vanderbilt,
Vanderbilt. That
which
was-
is where he came from
Yeah.
before he was here.
Yeah.
He'd been at Vanderbilt.
And he came here in 1999 with Kirk Ferentz when he was hired as the head coach. And we all kind of had a feeling at the time we got something special with Norm. His track record,
He was special.
oh yeah.
Because the way he took care of that son of his was just tremendous.
He had a
That's right.
Down syndrome son, Jeff,
Yeah.
who died a few, 5, 6 years ago now at
Yeah.
age 33. And the devotion that he gave to his son.
He just had a ball with him.
Yeah, well, he had his son hired at the in the equipment
Yeah,
office
sure.
there at the football
Ideal.
department.
Yeah.
Worked with our friend Greg Morris,
Mhm.
and I think that one of the predominant themes of the tributes that have flowed about Norm since his passing is the relationship he had with his son and how much he loved him. There's another Hawkeye football player who graduated recently. Can't think of his name.
Matt Bowen?
I don't know. He lives in Chicago, and he has a Down syndrome baby. And not having ever experienced that myself or any of us, but the former Hawkeye football player was pretty distraught upon the birth of his Down syndrome baby. And the headline on the story he wrote about it, and this is before Norm died, is that Norm Parker saved my life. That's how much it meant
Doesn't
to
he
him.
write for the Tribune?
It might be Matt Bowen.
I think that's who.
Yeah.
Defensive back for the University of Iowa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he was a good man. And I mean, all those things that have been written about him and tweeted from his players,
Yeah.
it's pretty inspiring. He
Yeah.
had a major influence on so many of those young men.
Well, old men too, like Pat Foster.
Yeah.
They
He and
were-
Pat were real tight.
Yes.
And that's the last time any of us probably saw Norm was at
Yeah,
Pat's
that's right.
funeral. Pat Foster died and was buried about a month ago.
Yeah,
And Norm was one of the guest speakers at his visitation, along with Kirk Ferentz and Pat Foster's son, who started the Arena Football League. And Pat Foster's son spoke very well. Very informative. I learned a lot more about my friend Pat than I knew. But when Norm got up and spoke, he cracked the room up.
He always does.
oh, he always does.
His sense of humor, and it's hard to describe, it's a dry sense of humor. I know as members of the Monday Morning Football Club, we all looked forward to the last
Yeah.
luncheon
Yes.
of the football season because that was always designated as Norm Parker Day.
Yeah.
And we knew that we were going to be rolling on the floor when Norm spoke. He was funny,
Yeah.
and he didn't hold anything back. He could be a little profane,
But always funny.
and he told you just what was in his gut.
Yeah.
You know, he's had, what did he have?
Diabetes.
What, he died from that?
They didn't announce,
They haven't
did they,
actually
Mark?
said
Yeah.
what the
that-
cause of death was. It's been said that he became ill Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe he was
admitted to
also on
University
dialysis,
Hospital, and
guys.
then
Is
died
that in
there
dialysis?
early Monday morning. But they haven't said what it was. It could have been a heart attack, could have been kidney
Well, and
failure.
diabetes is
Could
going
have
to
been a
take you,
stroke.
one way or another, it's
Yeah.
going to take you early.
Take something else.
Yeah.
Well, I think he went over for kidney dialysis treatments, didn't he,
Oh, yeah.
as well? So,
I mean, he'd been there in and out
Yeah.
for dialysis treatment over the years.
yeah.
And he was struggling with the amputations. I mean, he was really not very mobile. Since
Yeah.
he did all right. They took one toe, then another toe, and he was doing okay. And then when they
He overdid it.
took the foot off, which actually meant slightly below the knee, he
Yeah.
really had a very hard time adapting to that.
Yeah. And I know at the time when he was still coaching, the doctors told him, you've got to back off. You've got to stay off your feet. And if I'm not mistaken, shortly after the season where he was told this and didn't do it, he had his leg or below the knee, as Pat described, removed or amputated.
One of the things I remember a lot
Yeah.
about Norm is that I've been doing some volunteer work for women's basketball at the athletic department, and for a couple of years I went to a lot of I-Club events in the eastern part of the state, including several where Norm and Tom Brands were on the program, and part of their stick was teasing each other. Norm used to tease him, in the men's room, how one of the urinals is usually short.
Yeah.
And he would always say, wanted to make sure that there was a Tommy Brands urinal. And of course, Brands would give it right back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, the two of them, Norm Parker and Tom Brands, had a real special relationship. And as Pat said, they did a lot of the I-Club lecture circuit together. They were always a tag team.
Yeah.
And there are some great videos on YouTube of Norm and Tom Brands at the same time on the dais.
Yeah.
And it's priceless stuff. Norm, again, is just, again, it's hard for me to describe his sense of humor, but
It's dry.
it's dry, but it also, you just don't see it coming usually.
Here's
Sort of like zingers, you know?
one of my favorite examples of
Yeah.
his dry sense of humor came when he had retired and Phil Parker was named the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And some reporter interviewing Norm said, "Do you have any advice for Phil Parker as your successor?" And without cracking a smile, he said, "Blitz more." That's priceless.
Yeah.
And Phil has.
Yeah,
Yes, he has.
He has.
And we all know Norm got criticized for not blitzing enough, so
Yeah.
he just
It was great.
set that reporter up, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I don't know what you guys think, but Norm's defining moment had to be the bowl game against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the Orange Bowl?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Hawkeyes had almost 6 weeks to prepare. This is back when the last regular season game was the weekend before Thanksgiving.
That's right.
And if I don't know if that that Orange Bowl was played on New Year's Day or not, but Norm had almost 6 weeks to prepare for the vaunted Georgia Tech triple option offense,
Yeah.
which nobody could figure out that season. And not only did Norm figure it out, but
He
they just
inve-
wiped
he-
out
He
Georgia
invented
Tech.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure they had 150 total yards in that game, Georgia Tech. I
It
mean,
was just a thing of beauty and a
it
real
really held them, their rushing attack, yeah,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
certainly a defining moment for Norm. There were many others. Early in his career at Iowa, there was a game against Northwestern, who was ranked quite highly and was a juggernaut from an offensive standpoint. And they came into Iowa City, and I think it was their second year here, and the Hawkeyes just shut them down.
It was year 2000.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
I remember being in East Lansing, season of '09. Remember that game that last play of the game, we beat them, the night game? And I was listening to the pregame,
I remember when you went to that.
yeah, a couple hours before that, and they actually had a taped interview with Norm, who used to be the defensive coordinator there.
Yeah.
And they had, pre-recorded like the day before. The fellow that did the games, I can't think, he played for Michigan State, but he's been their radio announcer for a long time. And boy, were they having fun with Norm. I mean, you could tell they genuinely loved having him back, even as an opponent for the University of Iowa. And they were battering back and forth with their humor, and it was really enjoyable to listen to it. They probably interviewed him for a half an hour, and I just happened to have the radio on. But, he was there from 1980 to 91, and so he was there with what, Duffy Daugherty? Is that
No.
who was the
Duffy
coach?
would have been in the 60s.
Who was the
early
coach then?
70s.
Remember?
Was it?
You're
Saban?
talking about the 80s, basically.
Was he with Saban?
Saban would have been after that, right,
After that.
Pat? Was it Saban in the
Yeah.
90s there?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm
not
sure.
Smokey. Who was their coach? Smokey.
Well, anyway, it was fun to listen to them, and you could tell that he had a great relationship with the folks there, and he certainly made an impact here.
Well, here's one of the things I think also stands out about Norm Parker. This is a guy who was involved in coaching football for over 45 years at a high level with lots of success, but he had no desire for the limelight and no desire to become a head coach. He was very content to be behind the shadows.
Where did he and Kirk cross paths? I mean,
It's a good question. There's nothing in their job history that is shared.
well, when Kirk was here the first time, from what, 81 or 2 to 89, he would have been, Norm would have been over at Michigan State as defensive coordinator in that decade of the 80s. I mean, maybe that's where
Did Norm have a connection to our original offensive coordinator, or maybe somebody like Ron Aiken, who was a defensive
Don't know.
line coach?
I've never been able to
yeah.
see anything in the
That's
job history.
That's a real good
to
question,
tie 'em
guys.
Where is Nathan now?
Who?
Ron
Aiken.
Akins with the,
Oh, Akins?
still with
Arizona?
the Arizona Cardinals.
No.
No, he's gone?
He lost his job there about a year ago. He just took the same position with either Oregon State or Oregon
Oh,
just at the end of the season here. Yeah, he
Okay.
got cut when Weisenhunt lost his job at Arizona.
A year ago?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
Weisenhunt just got the job with Tennessee Titans. right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
and Jim Caldwell just got the job with the Detroit Lions.
Another
Yes.
former Hawkeye doing
Yeah.
well. I think he can make a big difference for the Lions, and they need a difference maker.
Well, they have some talent.
They
had a very
were
dis-
very close to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
Should have been in there. They led that the
Oh.
old black and blue division most of the year.
they blew it,
They
basically.
really did.
Lost what, 4 of their last 5 games or something like that? 5 out of the last 6.
And don't we have a few former Hawkeyes on the Lions roster? We have at least one.
Riley Rife.
Yeah, and I thought there's a defensive back also
Don't know.
with the Lions. I don't know if it's Amari Spivey.
Mari Spivey was with the Lions. I don't know. I think he was injured.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if he's still on their roster
Yeah.
or not. He wasn't
Okay.
playing at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Well,
And Ryan Donahue, I think, started with the Lions, the
Oh.
punter.
I didn't watch a pro game this year.
Not even the playoffs?
You didn't
this
watch the
last
playoffs,
weekend?
Well,
Murph?
there've been some good ball games.
The playoffs have been great.
Oh, they have been, very
Yeah.
good.
They really
You know,
have.
one last comment about Norm. I told you last week I figured out how to get on Twitter,
Uh-huh.
and that's how I actually found out Monday morning that Norm had died. I
Oh.
logged into Twitter, and the first tweet I saw was from Matt Crowell, singing Norm's praises and closing with R.I.P. So I assumed he knew something about
Yeah.
Norm dying. But over the course of the next 2 days, as I followed what former players were saying, it was just clear that he was universally loved by his former players.
Yeah. And not just
And
defensive
respected.
players.
No,
Yeah.
That's what was impressive to me. It was the offensive players and former Michigan State players. Even Kirk Cousins, the former Michigan State quarterback,
Yes, he did.
complimented him.
yes, he did.
And-
And it may have been Aaron White, one of our current basketball players. Apparently Fran recruited Norm to talk to the basketball team within the last couple of years.
Really?
Uh-huh.
They were commenting about how that stood out in their mind as something that they had all gone through together.
Interesting.
You know, he was married twice.
You know, I didn't know
I
that
didn't
know
either.
until I
that,
read the
and that's when I
obituary.
really,
And his first wife died.
yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't-
she was had to be pretty young.
She died laughing. I mean-
Yeah, she might have.
Could well have been, yeah.
Well,
could well
I
have
hope Norm was able to die laughing because he was a funny guy, and I think that's the first thing that anyone that ever knew him thought about was his sense of humor.
Yeah.
And
Well, the sense of humor is a wonderful gift,
yes, it is.
and he certainly came by it pretty naturally.
It'll get you through a lot of tough times.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And Norm saw his share of tough times, losing his wife, losing his son, and eventually losing body parts due to diabetes. He went through a lot. And
Well, and you know, when he was going through all of that, there were a lot of players and coaches and friends that saw him go through it. And I think that just, enhanced the respect that people had for him.
yeah.
When are they gonna have,
They're going to have his burial
Special.
in Michigan, but they're going to have a memorial service here in Iowa City. I believe they said in March.
okay,
They haven't got a firm date yet. Where did he go to church?
I don't know.
He's Catholic, but I don't know where he
I
went.
don't know.
I know back in the old days when I was tailgating with Pat Foster, Norm would come out after games and hang with us, and I never thought too much about it. He wasn't, cracking jokes or, giving us inside tips. He was just kind of enjoying the moment
yeah.
Yeah,
and the company. So, the shame of it is he died before we really got a chance to enjoy retirement. And that's I guess, what really saddens me. And
I think it's more sad when you have to retire, You're- if you do something you love, and they say, well, you're all through.
yeah, you're right, Murph. If he was healthy, he'd probably still be coaching.
Sure.
Hayden Fry would have coached a lot longer if he didn't have the cancer scare
Yeah.
at age 70.
Yeah,
He might have gotten it at about age 68 or 9, but he retired at 70, I think the same age as Norm Parker.
well, yeah, Norm just retired in 2011, right?
After that season. So,
Yeah.
well, it's been nice to reminisce about Norm Parker. It's also been nice to see the national media, or at least the regional media, the Big Ten media, acknowledge his passing. You don't see that for lifelong coordinators, people who never made it to the head coaching position. So he definitely had an impact over a lot of people, including the media. So God bless you, Norm Parker, and God bless your family. I think God blessed the Hawkeye men's basketball team.
Oh, my.
We had a lot of fun, didn't we?
It was a great win.
Last Sunday was a special day. We had the Hawkeye men and women were both on the road for key contests, and the Hawkeye wrestlers were at home, and all three teams won. It was just a beautiful day.
Good Hawkeye weekend.
It really was. But the men's game stood out, rightfully so. They went to Columbus, Ohio, and knocked off at the then number 3 and I guess once beaten Ohio State Buckeyes in convincing fashion. And guys, let's admit it.
Convincing the last 4 minutes.
Right.
I mean, it was nip and
Yeah.
tuck.
Yeah.
Okay,
Up
now
until
I'm
then.
in full confession mode here. Midway through the second half, they're down 9 points.
Oh, boy.
And to that point in the second half, it was just,
Yeah.
a lot of mistakes. And it was hard to watch, and I figured, well, this one's over. I really did. We've seen it before. Life on the road in the Big Ten for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But to their credit, not only did they not concede, but they just went on a tear. 3-point shooting, and it's kind of, I thought, you guys chip in, but I thought it was a combination of the players who stepped up and filled roles that maybe they weren't necessarily filling before, and the coaches, especially in the last 4 or 5 minutes, they put Marble at point guard.
Yes.
He had been playing point all game. We had Gasell let's see, was it Gasell who was in a little bit of foul trouble?
Mm-hmm.
And
You haven't named him.
boy, oh boy, did that, I thought that
It was a
alone,
great coaching move.
it really
It
was.
was.
And he went to a zone defense
Yes.
late in the game.
Well, he had to.
Well, yeah.
We were in foul trouble.
Yeah,
2-3
he
zone,
really did.
yeah.
But again, Ohio State seemed flummoxed by it.
I thought the guy that played the best was Marble, but the second best
Yes.
was the guy from Jefferson.
Utah.
Utah.
Yes, I thought he defensively,
Mm-hmm.
offensively, he was just wonderful.
Well, I thought Melson played a great game.
Yes, he did.
The whole team did.
Yeah. White.
The
I mean,
Sabi's put back or tip in
That was beautiful.
with about 3:45 to
Yeah.
go was just unbelievable.
And he just had
One of
come
the best
into the
shots
game.
I've seen over,
Yeah.
ever seen.
He had run the court
Mm-hmm.
and was there when the ball came off the rim, and he got it back
Well,
in.
the amazing thing about that tip-in was that his momentum was taking him under and
Yeah,
past the
that's
basket.
right.
And he
Yeah,
still
reach
had
back.
the
He had
wherewithal.
that,
Oh,
yes.
Bob,
Yeah.
it was total extension backwards and just really a flip of the wrist. And it went in beautifully, banked it off the board, in.
And that gave us a 4-point
I'll tell you who
lead.
was gassed, was that, the guard, from Ohio State.
Kraft.
Kraft,
Kraft.
Aaron
Kraft,
Kraft.
He was aghast when they called a foul on him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
He said, "I didn't think this was a foul."
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy who gets 15 fouls per game and only 5 of
Gets
them
charged
at
for
most
5.
called
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. But you know what? Marble took it to him. He
Yeah,
got,
that's
what,
right.
3 of
Yes,
those
he
fouls
did.
in, what, the last 5
Yes.
minutes?
Yeah.
Again, putting Marble at the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of why it was a great coach.
Kraft couldn't keep up with him.
Kraft couldn't handle somebody who was quite a bit taller than him, and the referees, that makes a difference
Yeah.
when they call it.
Just as fast.
And
Yeah.
and 2 other people that really stood out. Number 1, Aaron White, the Strongsville, Ohio native, who last year in Columbus was taunted mercilessly by the Buckeye fans who chanted, "We never wanted you."
Is that right?
And it
Yeah.
it had an impact on him. It
Yeah.
it have clearly affected him as a sophomore playing there in Columbus this year. And I asked Coach Al Seibert when he spoke to us on Monday. I said, "Tell me, Coach, did the Ohio State fans chant again this year?" He said, they started it in the beginning of the game. And then funny, but we never heard it again the rest of the game. Aaron White had 19 points. I forget
Yes.
how many rebounds.
Yeah.
And he was a monster out there.
If he would play every game with the energy and aggressiveness that he played with Sunday at Ohio State, he'd at least be first team All Big Ten,
Yeah.
if not an All-American. I mean, he's got a skill set that is just terrific. When
He's
he
kind of a
uses it.
late
Yes.
starter.
But he has a tendency to be kind of passive.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
lose
you're
him.
right. Yeah.
He did something in Ohio State's game that he has been very reluctant this year to do, and that's take a three-point shot. And he hit it late when it counted.
He can
When
do
we
that.
were 9 down, didn't he hit the first one?
He did.
It was,
Yes, he did.
and then it was what, Giselle and Utah? I mean,
Mhm.
we
Just-
made three
just-
three-pointers in a row. I mean, we haven't done that since God was a baby. I mean, make three three-pointers in a row.
Here's an illustration of his passivity shooting-wise. I mean, this is a remarkable percentage. He is making 65% of his field goals. But part of that is because he has the tendency not to shoot unless he's right near the basket or dunking on the fast break or the lob. I mean, he's terrific at that skill set. But if he's got the ability to shoot more than he does from the
Do we
outside.
play Hawkeye State again? Or is that a one shot?
We do play them again.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think
We
they
do?
come, yes.
Is
Yeah, one thing that was mentioned
Second to last home game, I think.
by Al at the quarterback club was the fact that Wisconsin, who got beat last night by Indiana, by the way.
Which I predicted in my weekly
Did you?
pool. You betcha.
I did, but the schedule favors them because Wisconsin plays Iowa twice, but they play Michigan State once and Ohio State once
Both.
at home
Bingo.
with Wisconsin.
Bingo.
So, whereas, for example, we play Ohio State twice, we play Wisconsin twice, we play Michigan State twice, we play all the contenders twice. So they, you might think, have the advantage schedule-wise.
They do.
And
But
we
it's-
only play, these are the teams we play once.
Yeah.
Nebraska at home, Purdue at home, Penn State away, and
Is it Northwestern?
Northwestern, no, we play them twice. Who's the fourth team we only play once?
Is it Indiana?
Yeah, away.
Yeah, only away.
So, we play all the toughies twice, basically.
Yep. And a lot of the lower teams just once.
That's right.
I would like to ask, each gentleman, is, do you think that we'll lose the coach again?
From temper tantrums?
Yes.
Hard to say, Murph.
Nobody knows.
I think
Nobody
Fran
knows.
will get another technical before the year is over, but I don't think we're gonna have what we saw against,
I don't either.
Wisconsin, no.
I think Bob nailed it. Yeah,
He's a good coach.
very good
Oh, yeah,
coach.
yeah.
I meant to look this up, and I forgot to do it. In the NCAA tournament a few years back when Fran was at Siena,
Uh-huh.
did they upset Ohio State in the tournament? I know they upset,
That rings a bell, Pat.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
they beat
Don't know.
Ohio State in a
May have.
tournament.
They upset somebody. Was it North Carolina?
I'm not sure. I just didn't
We'll have
check.
to look
I
that
should
one
have.
up. If Joe was any kind of producer, he'd look that up for
Yeah,
us.
he'd have that at his fingertip.
Who
But-
did Siena upset in the NCAA basketball tournament?
I want to touch on Melsan Basabi again.
Yeah.
Go back to his sophomore year. He was just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Showed no interest in playing.
After an all Big
No,
Ten freshman
Yes,
season.
all fresh, all
All
Big Ten
fresh.
freshmen.
Yeah.
Great year.
Comes back as a sophomore, he just overweight, no energy. I actually thought his career at Iowa was over. I assumed he would drop out of school, transfer, leave here, get no playing time. And he deserves a tremendous amount of credit. The
Yeah.
coaching
Yes.
staff
Yes.
deserves a tremendous amount of credit for keeping him in the program and whatever they have done to motivate him. He's been tremendous.
Yeah, because I forgot about him.
Yeah.
He's our leading rebounder,
Yeah,
playing less than half the game.
yeah.
And even last year as a junior, Pat,
There it
he
shows.
played poorly for about half the season and then came on, you remember? Last year.
Yes.
when
Yeah.
the-
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
the Vanderbilt
Is
Commodores,
that,
okay.
that's the first one that came up. All
See if they beat Ohio State or North Carolina. Please.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Melson, and I'm glad you brought it up. He is now the third current member on the roster of the Iowa men's basketball team to score 1,000 points in his
Yes.
career. And that kind of shocked me, again, because of the kind of years he had his sophomore and junior seasons.
He gets up and down the floor about as fast as any
He's
big man.
running the court awfully well.
Yeah.
Yes, real good.
Somebody else who's running the court well is Woodbury. I mean, comes in
Yeah,
for a
he-
lot of criticism,
yes.
but he runs the court awfully
Yes,
well.
he does.
He one of the criticisms is he's probably the worst tip-off jumper I've ever seen in my life.
It's odd.
He just
Forget
looks
about that
ugly.
Yeah,
tip off and
We-
give it to Iowa.
We
or
seldom get the
opposite.
ball. He seldom hits the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
They throw it up and
Oh my gosh.
Well,
but he's doing
Melson,
other stuff.
yeah, Melson is now the 45th Hawkeye men's basketball player to reach the 1,000-point club. And it's the first time the Hawkeyes have had 3 members of the current roster with 1,000 points or more since Jeff Horner, Pierre Pierce, and Greg Bruner
Yeah.
were on the team. And that's been, golly,
Well, that was
10,
like,
12 years ago.
10 years, yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
04
more than
maybe,
10 years.
5.
2009 tournament, Siena beat Ohio State 74-72.
I knew Pat was
Wow,
right.
good
There we are.
memory,
I will
Pat.
never doubt J. Patrick White. Not that I did here, but Pat, amazing recall. Just amazing.
And he never
What
lost
was
to
the score
Casey,
again?
right, Pat?
What was?
Siena, coached by Fran McCaffrey, did upset Ohio State in the NCAA men's basketball
Score?
tournament.
Wow.
Don't know the score.
Joe gave
Yeah,
it
he
to
gave
us
it
at 80.
74-72, wasn't it?
There you
That's
go.
Two
what I
points, yeah.
thought.
Yeah,
There you go. Thank you, Joe Murphy.
you did good, Joe.
The
We'll give you
Hawkeye
a
men
raise.
now they are tied for first place in the Big Ten with a 14-3 overall record, 3-1 conference record. Let's see here. They are now ranked number 14 in the nation, and I think rankings they
How
are
do you-
what they are.
Oh, yeah.
How do you beat a team, number 3 in the country, beat them by 10 points on their court,
Yeah,
and then a day later, they're still ranked ahead of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, significantly ahead.
Yeah.
Ohio State's ranked number 8.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
they lost 2 games last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got beat
Well,
by
they got-
Michigan State also.
Got beat by Michigan State at Michigan State.
that was overtime.
Now, isn't Michigan State and Michigan both undefeated in the Big Ten? Are they the only undefeated teams left?
Oh, I thought
I mean, conference-wise.
Michigan's undefeated in the conference.
I think they're 4-0.
Oh my, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they haven't played the,
So we're tied for
they
second
haven't played
place.
the better teams. yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
we play Michigan.
They're
This
not
week,
the same
right?
team
Next week?
without Mitch McGarry.
No.
Yeah,
No.
you're right.
I mean, they were a preseason contender, and
Mhm.
I think they're ranked 22nd or 23rd in the country, which is probably about right. For
Mm-hmm. Guys, did you know? Well, I think we all agree this was the biggest win in Fran's tenure here. It was 4 years at Iowa.
Oh, for sure.
It was this victory at Ohio State snapped an 8-game losing streak to the Buckeyes. And it was Iowa's first victory over a top 5 ranked team in 13 years since they went to Missouri, who was ranked number 2. Well, I guess actually technically 12 years. December 15th. I think we all remember that game. That was a run and gun up and down the court game. And Iowa just withstood wave after wave of Missouri onslaught and beat them. But I didn't realize that was the last time that Iowa beat a top 5 team.
This win came at a perfect time. It's on national TV on CBS.
CBS.
At a time when we're out there trying to find, clearly Fran wants 2 more recruits if he can find the right people. A
Yeah.
point guard and a power forward
We-
is what he's
now-
after.
I thought it was pretty significant
Yeah.
Monday when
Yeah.
Coach Al,
He confirmed,
admitted.
he confirmed what people have been
and
speculating
Fran has
about.
danced around that.
He definitely danced around it.
He admitted that the Hawks are going to sign a point guard yet this year and what he called a lanky
Well,
power forward.
I keep coming back to Twitter, and I told you the reason I got on there was following breaking news.
Yes.
Is it Monday?
Yeah.
The day after the Ohio State game,
Uh-huh.
didn't say Fran, said Iowa was in the gymnasium to watch a 6'8" power junior college forward named Willie Atwood. I think someplace.
Sherm
in-
Douglas
Is that who it was?
he's a JUCO player.
Yeah.
And golly,
Said Arkansas and somebody in Pittsburgh, I think, were the
Yeah.
other schools
Yeah.
who were there for that particular game. So, I mean, that's an example of what they're looking at.
and hopefully Willie was watching that game Sunday
Yeah.
on CBS like so many other people across the country.
But a more important position than that power forward is a guard.
Right, point guard.
Because
Point
a
guard.
point
Point
guard,
guard.
because Roy Marvel really is our only go-to guy in crunch situations.
Boy, it seems
And
that way.
they can take it to the basket or hit a 3 or whatever, and when he's graduated, we're gonna miss him.
Well,
And they're,
we're gonna miss him, but Utah and White have that sort of skill set. I mean, they can create.
well, they can, but you know, when you're a point guard, Pat, you've got the ball in your hand.
Well,
You're the guy starting to
That's
play.
why I don't
Yeah.
really like Marble as the point guard. It's okay to put him there, and it was a great coaching move at the end of that
Yeah.
game. But I think we're a better team when he's off the point and
Yeah.
whoever is playing point guard is helping him.
Well, it's gonna be
Yeah, you're
Gasell.
right. Yeah.
Clemens has clearly regressed as of late,
Yeah.
and
Clemens
I
is-
think he only played 5 minutes at Ohio State.
Well, and every time he's in, he turns it over
Yeah.
a couple of times, and so he's
Yeah.
probably nervous and pressing, and
He has been,
Yeah.
ever since Iowa State, I
just
think.
hadn't been as sharp as he was last year.
Yeah. Devin Marble was named the Big Ten Player of the Week, and he is the first Hawkeye since Matt Gatens on February 22nd, 2012, to earn that award.
Uh-huh.
That's 2 years. First, I thought Devin had won it before, but apparently not.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah.
So
He also was named the Althon Sports National Player of the Week.
really,
Is that right?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Althon is a big publishing
Yeah.
company that,
Now, another surprise too is that the all-time series
Mhm.
with Ohio State in basketball, unlike football, is dead even.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember when
Both
they were
teams have
down.
won 76 games in there.
Well, Ohio State really stunk in the 80s and 90s.
Well, one of the things that underscores is we were pretty good at several points in our history.
Oh, absolutely.
More than pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, Iowa is considered, in the history of NCAA basketball, Iowa's considered one of the top 20 all-time programs.
Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
they've had a lot of
That's wonderful.
success over the ages.
We definitely
And,
have.
I mean, you look at all the different decades, and it's hard to find a decade where Iowa did not perform well throughout that 10-year period.
Mhm.
So it's nice to have it, have that mojo back. I gotta tell you guys, Sunday night and especially Monday, everybody that was a Hawkeye fan had a little extra bounce in their step.
Absolutely, until they heard that Norman died.
And then we heard Norm
Yeah.
died, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
The men,
Did you notice, we were talking about Fran, did you notice what Ed Hightower called him? Franny.
Really?
Like he's known him since he was a kid. He
Franny.
did his last college game here, Arkansas Pine Bluff, before the Big Ten
sure.
season started.
Yeah.
And somebody was interviewing him, and he said, "Well, with Franny as your coach, you're going to get there."
I had an Aunt Franny.
Say,
Franny.
It's kind of odd.
you got it down here, but the press, that they really gave Drew,
Drew Cook?
a real good article.
Yeah, he's had several good write-ups in the last week or two.
Yes.
Mainly because he continues to dominate his opponents.
Playing
That's
very
right.
well.
And
We're going to get to Drew Cook in a minute, but I want to finish up on men's basketball.
Okay.
The Hawkeyes started Big Ten play 3-1 for the first time. Can any of you tell me what year? Since what year? 3-1 start.
05.
Close. 06.
Okay.
They'll be hosting Minnesota on Sunday. They get a nice week-long break in between games. They'll host Minnesota here at Carver Hawkeye Arena on Sunday at noon. It's Fran bobblehead night. That was moved from the Northwestern game, and we didn't even address the Northwestern game. That is a really bad Northwestern team.
They
Iowa
beat
beat them.
Illinois.
But then, then the next
Yeah,
game, they turned
yes,
around and knocked
yeah.
off your
Go
favorite
figure.
team.
when did you write this?
Illinois. I wrote this last night. Illinois is also
you
a
updated.
bad team.
Not as good as the
But they were ranked.
Yes, they were, and that shows you the fallacy of rankings. What I was going to say, a more accurate description of where teams really stand is something called the KenPom system. And it takes in all kinds of different variables, like road victories. They get extra weight for road victories, extra weight for victories against ranked teams. And the current KenPom system has Iowa ranked number 5 in the nation.
Wow.
Now, naturally, I'm going to believe them before I believe the coaches poll or the AP poll or ESPN or USA Today, especially the coaches poll.
Well, we got a beautiful situation, the way we substitute.
Oh, yeah. Deep bench, 10, 11 deep, easy.
Yeah,
And the other guy we forgot to mention, and deserves it for his game against Ohio State, is Josh Oglesby. Josh broke his foot before the season started and missed the entire preseason schedule and came back, I think, just in time for either the first Big Ten game or the one before.
Arkansas Pine
Was that- yeah.
Bluff, yeah.
And, you know, that game, he came back, and I think he hit his first 5 threes. And then when the
Yeah.
competition stepped up in quality, Josh Oglesby disappeared and became very reluctant to take his shot, especially in motion. And I kept telling my son, as we're watching these games, Oglesby would get the ball and go up and fake his three-point shot. And let's face it, folks, he's there to be a three-point gunner. That's his specialty. He's a good defender and a good passer, but his bread and butter is three-point shooting. And there was something going on there, even when he had the ball in motion, where he was reluctant to shoot it. There was no reluctance in Columbus. He hit some big three-pointers in that comeback.
He went 2 for 4, didn't he?
I think that's right.
Well, I'm assuming that one of the reasons is that Fran has told him, Josh, if you're not gonna shoot the ball, we're not gonna put you in.
No.
I mean, we put you in because we trust your shot, we want you to score, and don't pass up a shot or you're gonna be sitting beside me.
That's great.
We got to have him shooting. I'd like to see him drive the lane a little bit more. He's got good height.
He can do that,
He's a great free throw shooter.
yeah,
We need him.
and a decent,
the lineup.
decent defender.
Yeah, he's noted for his defense.
Well, what hurt us last year a lot was the fact that we could not drop the threes. And I bet you it cost us 3 or 4 games. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
could be a major difference if we get Oglesby hot in this Big Ten stretch run. That's real important for this team to step to that next level that we
Yep.
all want. That title contender, I think the wheels would have to totally fall off for us not to make
Yeah.
the NCAA tournament this year.
Well,
So, you know, we got a long ways to go.
Well,
This is a pretty good team, and if
One-
they get in the tournament, they get on a run, they could do some damage.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that clearly they've tried to do relative to making threes is get Zach McCabe to shoot him, and he had a really bad shooting.
Yeah.
Did it?
put
Oh,
up
0
some
for
breaks.
8.
I felt
You
sorry.
know?
I did too.
When he airballed the second
Oh.
one, I'm sure he just wanted to crawl in a hole.
Oh, yeah.
Well, God bless him. He kept taking the shot,
Yeah.
and you need him
He
to
did.
do that because the defense
Well, he's a
has
senior.
to be aware. That's
He's a
right,
senior, and he knows that that's what they want him to do.
and he'll be
Yeah,
back.
That's right.
He will, he'll make them.
That was one game.
Yeah, that's right.
I look forward to Josh McCabe, or Zach McCabe, really stepping up here in his senior season, along with Melson Basabe, along with Roy Devon Marble. All the home games are sold out now. First time that's happened in forever. You know,
Good to hear, isn't it?
One-
Yeah.
One thing Zach did, I mean, I got a kick out of the announcers who obviously didn't know this. He made a length of the court pass.
Oh,
I forget whether it was White or Woodbury, then got the layup. And the announcer was saying, was he a quarterback in high school? And the answer is yes.
Yes, he was.
absolutely was.
and a pretty good one.
Darn good one.
Yeah, there are some people who would like to see him use another year of eligibility and play for the football team
Who
in
was
some
this?
position.
McCabe.
Zach McCabe.
McCabe.
Oh,
Made a great pass.
Yeah.
Well,
from-
speaking of another year of eligibility, you know, we need not forget that some of these basketball players that graduate from another school, like a Marshall, like the King that plays for Iowa State, can come here and play for a year. And that's something that hasn't happened here, but that could happen if we're in need of a point guard that badly,
I don't see Fran doing that.
don't you?
No,
Well,
it's hard enough for
he's
him.
talked about the
yes,
possibility of a transfer.
Yeah, but not a one and done.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
one and done and might get you over the hump for another year.
If he
you know?
thinks what he needs next year is somebody, a power forward or a point guard, and that's the best one available to him, he just might do it.
Yeah, time will tell. It's going to be interesting
Yeah,
to see.
we shall see.
The signing date is coming up here in a month, right?
Yes.
February. I'm not
No,
sure of the date.
No, the early signing date was in November.
Yeah,
The
for
spring
basketball.
signing for football, it's coming up
Oh.
in February. but
First week of February,
For
right?
basketball, I think you can actually sign people through April or May. And if you think back to
Basketball season
Bryce
has to be over.
Cartwright,
Yep,
he didn't actually sign till very late in the spring.
and he didn't show up until just before school started, if I remember
Well, I
right.
think maybe he had to graduate from junior college,
Well, that could,
Right.
you
that
know,
could
so
well
that,
be.
that can be an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we run out of time, we need to talk about the Iowa women's basketball team. They won a big game on the road at Wisconsin, 10-point victory on Sunday. Their record is 14-4, and they have a 2-2 Big Ten Conference record. They started out 0-2, and last week not only did they win on the road at Wisconsin, but they won at home against. Minnesota, thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah,
I was there, you think I'd remember.
and they beat Wisconsin handily,
Yeah.
82-65 over there.
Wisconsin's not a great team, but they're a
Yeah.
good home team.
Yes.
And every road victory is important in the Big
Mm-hmm.
Ten, especially for the Iowa women's team, because they have not proven themselves to be road warriors.
Well, and we couldn't afford to go 0-3, could we?
No, no.
know,
This was a big win, 82-65. They beat Minnesota at home by 7, and that was after being down again late in the game. They have a big one coming up tomorrow night, Thursday night, when Michigan State comes to town. Michigan State is 11-5, but they are 3-0 in the Big Ten.
Ooh.
Are they the last
Yes,
undefeated conference
everybody
team?
has at least one loss except
Yeah.
Michigan State
Okay.
is still undefeated.
Now that game is at 7 p.m. It's not on TV. It will be on KXIC, AM 800. As always, Brent Balbinot and Shelley Till.
It is on MediaCom,
Yes.
Huh?
yeah,
That's new.
tomorrow night.
That's new because they did not have that listed last
Is
night.
that Channel 22?
They're
Pat?
advertising it, yeah,
What-
Channel
Really?
22.
Okay.
Wow. Well, I think they're doing Dollar Dogs and all. What?
No, it's Buck Night.
Buck Night. That's
You
it.
get
Buck-
in for $1.
Yeah.
Now, how do we match up with Michigan State, Pat?
Michigan State always seems to, they've forever have had a team that's pretty wide and strong.
Yeah. And who's their coach?
Susie Merchant.
Yeah, I like her. She's kind of cute, isn't she?
That's why you like her, huh?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
She's a lot smaller than her players. So.
Yeah, there's that. And then after the game Thursday at home, they have to go to Ohio State. And for the life of me, I couldn't find Ohio State's record. But that game is Sunday at 2 p.m., and that game will be on the Big Ten Network, as well as KXIC. Do you know any more about Ohio State this year?
Well, they've got some size. Ashley Adams is back, I think, for her senior year. They've got another girl who's, I think, 6'3", playing center, and a reserve that's about the same size.
I'm pretty sure I saw them on TV in the last week playing at Penn State. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, and they played them. They were up. They were leading. I don't think.
They'll be good.
Yeah.
I mean, our difficulty with anybody will be dealing with size. We just don't have a lot of size once you get past Bethany Doolittle, who's not a power forward, power center type.
Certainly not bulky.
She's very good.
Yeah.
She's got a great shot from 10 to 15 feet.
She does.
She's been scoring well.
Plays good defense,
Yeah.
blocks shots, but she's not a power rebounder. Our
No.
leading rebounder is still Samantha Logic, who's just a joy to watch. She's worth the price of admission, whatever it is.
Sam Logic does it all,
Yeah, she
and
does.
she does it with determination.
She's got one more year.
Yeah, she's a
One
junior.
more.
Yeah.
One
But
more.
she's our leading rebounder. She leads the Big Ten in assists. She's our leading scorer at this point. And she's really the heart of the team. And the best example is when we played Syracuse. Syracuse is really good, and they were ranked. And when that was the game when Sam hit the floor and split her head open. We were 2 points ahead when she went out. She was in the dressing room for about 5 or 6 minutes.
And
getting
8 stitches.
When she came back, we were 9 behind. That's how much we missed her
Yeah.
in a short period of time. And then we won the game
Yeah.
with her in the lineup.
That was
Yeah.
a great game, too.
And then, what game was it? A few games later, she reopens that wound
Iowa State.
at Iowa State. Yeah.
and had it restitched without any
No Novocaine.
painkiller.
Ooh,
It didn't work, and
one tough
she
cookie.
had them restitch it, just gritting her
She
teeth and
is
bearing it.
tough. I don't know if we've ever had a grittier, tougher women's basketball player than Samantha Logic. She's something else.
And she lost a tooth in an
Oh,
earlier
yeah.
game,
Oh,
This
my.
year.
hitting the floor.
That's right. And
Oh,
kept
my.
playing and made the
Yeah.
game-winning. Didn't she make the game-winning three-pointer?
Yes,
What more can she do? I guess she washes dishes after the game or something. I don't know.
Yeah, washes the uniform.
Yeah. Well, a couple big games for the Iowa women. Thursday night at home. Get out there and support it. Buck, come on, get out there. It's $1. Get out there and support the women. It's a lot of fun. My kids just have a blast at the games. A lot more so than the men's games. They just
it's really
do.
a kid-friendly
It
environment.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Plenty of room to roam, too.
Yeah, and if you go to the game, you get to see the guy behind the home basket going, W! The Iowa wrestlers had another momentous weekend. They've really turned things around since they lost at home to Penn State the Saturday before Christmas. This past weekend, they had number 4, number 5 ranked Oklahoma State in town. Big arch nemesis, big blood feud. These two programs, these two coaching staffs, they do not like each other. And they wrestle contrary styles. Iowa is more take it to you in your face, and Oklahoma State's going to lay back on the edge of the mat. Doesn't matter who the wrestler is, he's going to lay back and wait for you to make a mistake on your shots and then counter. In fact, at the end of the night, Oklahoma State had more reversals than they had takedowns. And if you know anything about wrestling, I don't know if I've ever seen that happen before. That's very rare. Iowa won in convincing fashion, 24-6, and there were a couple of significant moments. Tony, there were a lot of Okie State had 3 number 2 ranked wrestlers and a number 1 ranked wrestler, and Iowa won 3 of the 4 matches. And the number 2, they only had 2. Okie State only had 2 wrestlers win. One of them was the Perry kid, whose older brother, Mark Perry Jr., wrestled for the Hawkeyes. He squeaked one out against,
Lofthouse?
no, Lofthouse hasn't been wrestling. I don't know if it was Nick Moore. I can't remember. No, it wasn't Nick Moore. I'm drawing a blank, but he squeaked one out. Might have been Evans. Might have been Evans.
Okay.
So, the Hawkeyes just really stepped up big, and I don't know if the Penn State loss, which was really pretty humiliating. Penn State dominated the Hawkeyes in all but 1 or 2 matches that
Can
night.
we beat Penn State?
I don't.
Well,
Anything's possible in the NCAA tournament.
That's what I mean.
It'll be interesting to see how we do against them in the Big Ten tournament. They've got 2 wrestlers that are just not only head and shoulders above everybody else in their weight level, but the guys are big-time point scorers in tournament
You know,
style. They'll pin everybody.
Ruth lost within the last week.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
who
that.
beat him, Pat? Do you know?
I don't know.
I didn't know
I
that.
don't remember who it was,
Wow.
but I know that he lost, illustrating once again that
It can happen.
in big-time sports,
Yep.
anything can happen.
That's right.
Well,
I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
it was nice to
The answer to, can we beat Penn State is, yeah, we could.
With a little help.
We won't be favored to, that's
No,
for sure.
no.
What are we ranked?
Number 3,
Okay, so.
and Minnesota's number 2,
Minnesota's 2.
and they're coming up in a couple weeks. They'll be here in Carver Hawkeye.
Okay.
West High alum Nick Moore was named the Big Ten Wrestler of the Week. I'm sorry, I take that back. He was named the USA Wrestling Wrestler of the Month, Nick Moore. Nick Moore has had he's a senior at 165 pounds, and he's kind of had a renaissance this year. Nick has struggled with injuries and weight and just all kinds of issues. And this year, it seems like it's all coming together for Nick, and it's really nice to see a West High kid do well, and it's really nice to see one of Mark Ryland's kids get named the USA Wrestler of the Month. Also, it should be mentioned that Tony Ramos was named the Big Ten Wrestler of the Week.
At 133.
Yeah, at 133 pounds.
Yeah.
He knocked off the number 1 Okie State wrestler. And Nick Moore upset number 2 Okie State wrestler Tyler Caldwell. So, they really got it going on. They had Indiana in town Sunday, and that was another whitewash. Indiana won one bout, and that was at 157 pounds, where they had a top 5 wrestler who was supposed to go up against another West High alum, Derek St. John, ranked number 1. For whatever reason, Coach Brands decided to sit Derek St. John, and he put a kid in there, Mike Kelly, who has struggled this year, and gave him an opportunity against a top-ranked opponent, and the Indiana wrestler beat him. But
that was their only victory. And what
that was it.
38-4, wasn't it?
38-4. That's right,
Yeah.
Bob. Now they have a big meet at Nebraska on Saturday at 4:30. That meet will be on the Big Ten Network live.
Okay.
At Nebraska. Nebraska's got some pretty good wrestlers at a couple weights. They've had some defections though. They've lost some really exceptional wrestlers who quit for various reasons. We'll see what kind of team Nebraska puts on the mat Saturday afternoon at 4:30. I'm also very excited about 2 young Hawkeye wrestlers, Brody Grothus at 149 pounds. That's the weight where Brent Metcalf wrestled
Yeah.
so well for 4 years, and since he graduated has just been a black hole.
Yeah.
Not only did no Hawkeye perform well at that weight, but they didn't even advance at the Big Tens, let alone the NCAA. We didn't even have a 149 guy last year at the NCAA tournament, and that's pretty unusual for Iowa. Brody Grothus has really stepped up his game.
Is he, what, a redshirt freshman? Or
I
what?
believe he is, redshirt freshman.
He's an Assumption.
Is that right? He's Assumption kid?
Okay.
Bush is his coach.
And then, sure, former 190-pounder, Pete Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Brooks is the other one. He's a redshirt freshman.
He's coming.
He is. He is right now at 184 pounds in place of the injured Ethan Lofthouse. Now, Ethan's not going to be out long, and Ethan will be the guy because
What's his injury?
it's something minor. They could never say.
Well, they could, but they don't.
They just choose not to.
Lofthouse is a senior, right?
Especially in wrestling, they don't.
Yes.
They don't want to
Okay.
say.
And Lofthouse is a 2 or 3 time All-American.
Yeah.
So when he's back, he'll be in the lineup. But it's really encouraging to see Sammy Brooks do what he's done. He doesn't just get out there and beat ranked opponents, and that's all he's faced the last 4 meets is ranked opponents, and he's beaten every one of them in convincing style. He comes out there to wrestle, and he doesn't mess around. He just takes it to the opponents, and it's a treat. We've got 2 minutes to wrap things up. The Regina boys are 10-0 and finally ranked in the top 10. They're number 9. They're 11-0. They had a big win against West Liberty last night. Drew Cook continues to get rave reviews. They've got a big game at Northeast Goose Lake this weekend.
He's like 9-1, I believe.
Yeah, very good team.
Yeah.
West High boys lost their first game in 61 games. They had 60 straight wins and lost to a very good Dubuque senior team, who's now ranked number 1.
They deserve a lot of praise for that winning streak.
Oh,
I think
my.
that 60-game winning streak in their class is just a tremendous accomplishment.
And you
We
know,
were talking about
Isn't that
anything
the
can happen.
all-time record, Pat, for that
No,
class?
for that class it may be. It's not.
That's what I mean for the
Yeah,
class.
for the
yeah.
class
Could be.
it may well be. I think
Okay,
we're going to have to wrap this up
Palmer
quick.
Pomeroy has the state class.
okay.
You know that West High and Dubuque Senior are going to face each other in the state tournament,
Yeah.
and I can't wait.
Yeah.
Neutral court,
Yeah.
it should be a battle.
That'll
The
be a battle.
Senior embarrassed West High. There were some issues with the elder Lowhouse boy with his health that night. We'll see if they can't get all that corrected next time they meet. We all have big faith in Coach Steve Bergman. And having said that, we got to wrap this up. On behalf of, we appreciate you watching Sports Opinion every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 18 and repeated every Sunday night at 6 p.m. You can catch us at patv.tv or you can go to my Facebook page. On behalf of Bob Boyd, Earl Murphy, and Pat White, I'm Dirk Keller thanking you and thanking Joe Murphy for everything you do. And remember this, folks, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks.
Amen.